Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to step right into the role of your relationship counselor. We're taking what is arguably the most famous biblical passage about love and transforming it from some lofty in the clouds ideal into a gritty daily operational manual for both singles and couples. So if you've ever struggled to bridge that gap between knowing what love is and actually living it out, when you're stressed, exhausted, and the dog just threw up on the rug, well, you are exactly in the right place. We're unpacking a curriculum today called The Greatest of These, practicing 1 Corinthians 13. As a counselor, I see so many folks get totally stuck on these grand romantic gestures, right? And they completely miss the fact that it's the consistent, small choices that actually build stronger, lasting relationships in the everyday grit of life. We're going to look closely at this text to see how love is proven, not up on the mountaintops, but right there in your living room. Here's our treatment plan for today's session. We'll look at whether love is a river or a frozen statue, discuss how love is a daily verb, and tackle overcoming everyday relationship frustrations. Then we'll walk through practical steps for singles, do a married couple's love audit, and leave you with some key questions to discuss. It's a targeted roadmap to help you practically apply these teachings right away. So let's start with a crucial diagnosis of how we fundamentally view love, river or a frozen statue. See, we often mistakenly view love as this passive feeling. We treat it like a frozen statue, something beautiful, carved in stone, meant to just be admired from a distance. But honestly, that's a trap. A healthy biblical love isn't a static emotion that just happens to you. It's a flowing river. It requires movement, energy, and most importantly, active, deliberate choices. If you leave a relationship to just sit there like a statue, it gathers dust. But a river carves canyons. Now, the historical context here is absolutely fascinating. We hear 1 Corinthians 13 read at almost every wedding, right? It sounds beautiful, like this poetic ideal draped in flowers. But we really need to debunk the myth that the Apostle Paul wrote this as pretty poetry for a romantic ceremony. No way. He actually wrote these words as a highly practical corrective for a severely dysfunctional church in Corinth. These people were suing each other, turning their gatherings into chaotic, selfish events, and just deeply hurting one another. Paul wasn't writing a Hallmark card here. He was writing a gritty prescription for broken relationships. Moving into the next phase of our treatment plan, we need to completely shift our mindset. We need to see that love is a daily verb. Let's anchor ourselves in this powerful biblical reference. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. Let's look at these incredibly familiar words not as these lofty, unattainable ideals, but as a grounded, step-by-step operational manual. When Paul uses these words, he's describing what love literally does, not just how love feels. The crucial point is that each of these attributes is a verb. It's a measurable action. The core truth we're revealing today is that love is a daily verb, proven not in the grandeur of occasional, expensive anniversary gestures, but in the ordinary grit of daily life. It's choosing to do the dishes when it's not your turn, or, letting a sarcastic comment slide. It's in those quiet, unseen moments where we actively make the deliberate choice to embody Christ's character. Let's take this out of the theoretical and into the practical, overcoming daily relationship frustrations. Picture this scenario. It's 6:30 p.m. You've had a brutally long day at work, you're physically exhausted, slightly irritated, and your partner or friend is running incredibly late. You're sitting there, staring at the clock, dinner is getting cold, and you feel that heat of frustration rising. We've all been there, right? This is the exact moment where the rubber meets the road. In this moment of being entirely drained and kept waiting, how do we actually respond? Well, this is what patience actually looks like. It is not an absence of frustration. Actually, scratch that, it's a choice despite the frustration. Patience is deliberately deciding not to snap when they finally walk through the door late. It's taking a deep breath, biting your tongue, and choosing grace over a perfectly justified lecture. And right alongside patience is kindness. Kindness isn't just having a warm, fuzzy feeling towards someone. How can you have a warm feeling when you're running on empty? You can't. Kindness is the deliberate, everyday choice to speak gently, even when you are utterly exhausted. It's regulating your tone of voice when everything inside you just wants to be sharp. It's choosing to say, rough traffic, instead of you're late again. The ultimate goal here is to transform the mundane. When you take that burnt dinner and instead of a heavy sigh and a passive-aggressive comment, you just order a pizza and laugh about it, You transform everyday friction into an active opportunity to show Christ's love. You take a moment of potential conflict and use it to incarnate grace. That, right there, is how strong relationships are built. Now let's branch our targeted therapy out a bit, looking at practical steps for singles. If you're single, this text is absolutely just as much for you. Here is your action plan. I want you to personalize 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 7. Step 1. Select a challenging relationship in your life right now. Maybe it's a difficult coworker, a demanding boss, or a stubborn sibling. Step 2. Choose one specific attribute from the text to embody, like being not irritable. For example, if your coworker always leaves the communal coffee pot empty, how can you practice not being irritable tomorrow morning? Step 3. Ask yourself how to apply it daily. And step 4. Journal your results. Write down the small choices you made and how it changed the dynamic. Next, we turn our attention to the married couples for a specific relationship checkup, the Married Couples Love Audit. Your homework is what the source material calls a love chapter audit. Here's how it works. You need to sit down together, open up to 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, and read these verses slowly. As you read each phrase, love is patient, love is kind. You need to pause and honestly evaluate your daily interactions. Look each other in the eye and ask, so how are we actually doing at this? No defensiveness, just an honest assessment. And hey, maybe hold hands while you do it just to keep those defenses down. Now, the goal of this audit is not to point fingers or list off past failures. No way. The goal is entirely forward-looking. You need to identify one specific area where you can practically grow as a team over the next 7 days. Maybe you both realize you've been a bit irritable or prone to boasting. Pick that one attribute, agree to give each other grace, and commit to focusing on it together this week. To ensure we are putting these lessons into immediate practice, let's look at questions for couples to discuss. Right after this explainer concludes, I highly encourage you to grab a cup of coffee, sit down, and discuss these 3 vital questions. First, how are we doing at this overall? Second, what is one practical way we can grow in this area this week? Make it super specific. And third, which attribute from the chapter is most challenging for you to practice daily and why? Having this open dialogue is going to turn today's analysis into immediate relationship-building action. Finally, I want to leave you with this powerful declaration from our source material. Love is my highest calling and my daily practice. I actively choose patience, kindness, humility, and forgiveness. My relationship is the living proof of 1 Corinthians 13. So here is my question for you. Will your daily, seemingly insignificant choices tomorrow prove that love is just a fleeting feeling, or will they prove that your relationship is the living embodiment of 1 Corinthians 13? The choice is entirely in your hands. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep choosing love as an active verb.